up, y'all? It is Portia, and I am here with my Life in LA series that I'm so happy to actually bring you guys. I wanted to do this series because I just wanted to share my testimony about how good God has been in my life since I've been in LA. I know, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Portia Carter from Detroit, Michigan. I moved to LA in 2016 to pursue talk show hosting. I came immediately after graduating college. I just got in my car, drove here with $400 to my name. And I am still here. So that's a little bit of the background. And what happened was I started recording my journey on YouTube. And then I stopped in 2017 because 2017 was really rocky for me as far as struggling with stability. And I didn't know how to I didn't know how to be grateful about the struggle. And while I was going through the process, I didn't fully know how to, trust it. I didn't fully know how to trust the process. So I have learned a lot, and so I'm here to share. So today, this video is going to be about how God blessed me with my apartment and how I knew it was Him. And so I titled it Homeless But Hopeful because I've been in LA for 2 years, but for the first year and a half of that 2 years, year and a half of that 2 years, I was homeless. And yet I am still here. And that just goes to show how much of a keeper God really is. Like, He will keep you if you want to be kept. I believed in my dream. I had faith because I took that leap of faith. And then I had patience. I knew that, it wasn't going to be quick, fast, and in a hurry, but I was still patient. And just my little disclaimer that I like to say, this is just my testimony and my story because some people do come out here with all their T's crossed and all their I's dotted. That was not my story. I came out here with only $400, didn't really have much. So I want to just share my testimony because all I had was God. All I could do was trust God. It was not in myself, nothing within me. So it's 2017, and by the end of January, I linked up with someone and we started searching for apartments together. I was actually going to have a roommate because before then, ever since I had got here, I had been sleeping from couch to couch, renting rooms, renting living room spaces, just not having my own stability and having to uproot myself frequently. And it's like, I was so sick of it. And so I'm thinking, okay, 2017 is going to be popping. I'm going to make it good this year. It's going to be amazing. And by the end of February, the whole thing just didn't work out. It kind of fell through. And so by March 2017, your girl is homeless yet again. And I spent the majority of the spring couch to couch until I actually moved in. And it was all friends and people that I knew. Until I actually moved in with a friend who let me stay there for a month for free. And then after that, I was paying like the cheapest rent possible to rent the living room space. So I just thank God for people who have a kind heart, who has been a great help to me out here. I'm so grateful for the people that He's placed in my life while I have been here. He has not, taken His glory from me. He has been with me like He said He would. And I have been trusting in Him. He has really been directing my path. And so that leads me to my story. So for the whole summer, I'm, homeless, but I'm staying with someone, and it's just uncomfortable because it's not a place to call my own. Like, my name isn't on the lease. I'm not paying full rent like I could be. Blase. I just had all these reasons of why I was so sad about my situation and my predicament. And not only that, I had this struggle with instability since I had been here. So at this point, I am upset. I am crying every single day, night, morning when I wake up, crying and praying until one moment it hit me that I couldn't cry myself to worry and pray. Like, it's okay to shed some tears about you being frustrated on a certain situation in your life, but I began to notice that I was worrying a lot. And it wasn't until I ended up dancing with my dance ministry at church, and we danced to Anthony Brown's Trust. If you haven't heard that song, go listen to it. And he was basically affirming what I had already knew in my heart, that God did not create me to worry. He just created me to worship. And so within me having that realization and noticing that, okay, Portia, you've been worrying more than you have been worshiping. And so, yes, you're crying and praying, but are you crying and praying because you're begging God for something because you don't see him moving? Or are you crying and praying because you're actually worshiping him? And I had realized that I was more so worrying than worshiping. And so I decided to change that around. And a scripture that really helped me was because in my crying and praying, I will always tell God, like, God, I done sow seeds. I have been faithful. I have been trying. I've been doing this. I've been doing that. And you mean to tell me you're going to have me out here for a whole year and a half and I still don't have my own place? Like, I feel the emotions in my throat because it was really an emotional point in my life. It was a lot for me and I didn't really know how to deal with it. I didn't really know how to navigate through it. And I knew to trust God, but I feel like my actions weren't showing that, or my emotions weren't, because I was definitely trusting him in my actions. I had nowhere to go but to the Lord. Okay. So I was definitely trusting him with my actions, but in my mind and in my emotions, I was really going through. And so I would always tell God, like, how are you going to have me be your child? And you say that you are the father and I don't see you moving on my behalf. Where you at? And so I had to read Psalms 27 a lot last year, a lot. And the scripture that really got me was Psalms 27 and 13. And it says, I would have lost heart unless I believed that I would see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. And there's so many scriptures that talk about the Lord's goodness and his promises and things of that nature, to where you know that, okay, God is going to bless you and his word says it, and he's not man that he should lie. So I was throwing his scriptures back at him, but for a reaction and not because I really was believing it and taking it in my heart. So once I stopped doing all of that and I started believing that, okay, I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living, he started making all of his good works happen. Like, every single thing really worked out for my good. As it says in the Bible, that all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and those who are called according to his purpose. And I believe that I'm called. I believe that I have a purpose, because why did I do this? You don't just have drive and passion for no reason. It has to be towards a why. And so I knew what my purpose was and what I was out here fighting for. And so I knew that he would sustain me. And so all of those tears and those cries and those praise and those thoughts of, let me just move back home to Detroit and, you know, trying to figure it out and all of that. Once I surrendered all of that and relinquished it and gave it all to him, I promise you, my thought patterns changed. My perspective on my situation had changed. Things just started lining up because now I'm worshiping and now I'm realizing that he got me. And I knew these things before, but you know, once you get so low to where your emotions are involved, once the enemy could plant seeds in your emotions, it's really hard to overcome that. It takes a tough fight. And so that's what I did. I fought and I fought hard. So once I for real got ready and he lined it all up, I went on an apartment search. And I'm like, Lord, I want to stay out here in this area because I work out here in this area, blase, blase. So all of the apartments that I was searching for were super expensive. And I'm like, I gotta live by myself, because why wouldn't I? I've been struggling for so long. And I'm like, Lord, I could have my own apartment, but then I would be working to live and not enjoying the fruits of my labor. And so I was struggling with that mindset, you know, and I'm like, Lord, I don't want a roommate. I'm like, and I don't want to have to search and blase, blase. So I was really discouraged when I walked out of this one apartment and it was just like over my budget that I had set for myself. I'm like, I could do this, but it would just be too much of a struggle for me to want to have spending money. So I'm like, you know what? okay, God, we got to talk this through. Immediately while I'm walking out of that building and talking to the Lord about how I need to either figure something out. He's basically working it all out. So I ran into my now roommate, and I saw her, and I'm just like, hey, what you doing? We were actually going to the same place, and we hadn't seen each other in a long time. The crazy thing is, I lived with her before during a time of when we both were couch hopping, and we just so happened to stay in the same place at one time. And so she already knew me. She already knew my habits. She already knew what I liked. She already knew how I felt about basically living in general. And so when I saw her, I'm just like, hey, you know, what you doing? And she's like, well, I'm paying the last of my rent because I'm about to find a new place. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you about to find a new place? I'm like, I'm looking for a new place right now. And she was like, really? Do you have a roommate? And I was like, no, I don't. And I was just telling God how I don't want one, but I will live with you because I've lived with you before. And so right then and there, I knew that that was God. And so the next following week, we ended up going to, no, I ended up just, you know, going and searching and things like that while she was working. I was sending her pics, sending her the different areas, locations, blase, blase. And so what happened was I found a place where I wanted to be, but I didn't know that the management was connected to 3 different apartment buildings in the area. So the building that I was originally working towards, I ended up bringing my roommate. We went, we saw it out. The place wasn't necessarily saying this is it. Like, it was saying, okay, you two can afford it, and it seems promising and it's nice, but it didn't seem like it was it. So while we were there, I just had to be honest about what I was feeling in my spirit. And so the manager was basically like, oh, well, if you don't like this one, that's okay. We have another one opening up November 10th, and it's actually going to be at the other apartment around the corner. And she told me the address and the name of the building and everything. And I'm like, hold on, my friend lived there. And she was like, oh, what's your friend's name? So I told her my friend's name, and she's like, oh, wow. She was like, the apartment that's opening up is right next door to her. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And when I tell y'all, to live next door to this friend is amazing because she's one of my best friends out here in LA. She is my prayer warrior, my confidant, my shoulder to lean on, my everything. And so I'm just like, this cannot be serious. Like, me and her talk all day long. And so when I told her, like, apartment opening up next door to you, and she's just like, are you going to get it? So what happened is the woman had told us, like, okay, so she said that some guys had already applied to that apartment, and we had already applied to the one that we were looking at. She was like, if they're willing to trade with you during your application process, then you can have it. And so she was like, but I'm going to process you guys for this apartment right here that we're in right now, and then I'll let you know if you get approved, blase, blase. So a week later, she called us. She said, you guys got approved. And so we're excited and happy, but we're like, okay, so what did we get approved for? I'm like, you know, I understand, you know, we got approved, but the other apartment, I really, you know, didn't like it that much. She's like, oh no, the guys gave you guys the apartment that you want next to your friend. It's yours. You can have it. And I was just like, oh my God. And so not only that, because I had believed I would see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living, we got approved next door to one of my best friends. We come out here and we move in immediately. Like, when I even came to see the place, immediately, people started calling me, asking me if I needed things for my apartment. So everything in my apartment was given to me for free. I didn't have to pay for anything. My apartment is fully furnished and everything mostly new, brand new. And I'm just like, Lord, like, my apartment is fully furnished. I know I did like a quick apartment tour on my last video. On the random apartment tour one, and I said that I would do another one, so I am going to link that to this video. I know this video is pretty lengthy, but I had to let y'all know how this was going for me. And so I am really excited, and I am just honored to God because he did what I knew that he would do, but he did exceedingly abundantly above all that I could ask or think, because I knew that he would one day bless me with my own apartment, but I didn't know that it would come fully furnished and I didn't have to really pay for anything, you know? It has just been like an amazing ride. And I say all this to say that God hears you. He is listening to your every prayer, even the prayers that you have yet to even pass through your lips. If you are trusting in him, if you are taking leaps of faith and trusting that he is going to carry you, he got you, because he knows that you can't do this on your own. And because you're putting your trust in him, all it takes is him to just do the rest and take the rest of the work and run with it. And that is what he has done in my life. And I am so grateful, y'all. I'm so grateful. Like, I couldn't even begin to tell y'all how happy I am and how grateful that I have been to the Lord. He has been moving in my life something serious. And I love my apartment. I love, my space. And actually, even though I didn't want a roommate, my roommate is just amazing. Like, I wouldn't have chosen to live with anybody else. And not only that, our apartment is, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, dual master. So it's like we still live by ourselves. We just go outside and see somebody across the hall, basically, in our apartment. But yeah, so it's amazing, and God really did it. That is my testimony about how he blessed me with my apartment. Trust God and put your hope in him. If you, like I say, a lot of my advice is for people who actually want to do this thing and do this journey. If you want to come out to LA to follow a dream and you believe that that's what God told you to do, you can do it, and it's possible if you trust in him. Let me be the living testimony that tells you that it's possible, because I know it is, and I'm living it out for myself. I'm telling you the things that he has done for me because it's so true. And all it takes is faith and a lot of hard work, but definitely faith, and he's going to get you through the rest. Thank you guys so much for listening. Stay tuned for my next one. The next one is going to be about how God blessed me with my job. And that's amazing all within itself. So yeah, stay tuned for my next Life in LA testimony segment. I'm out. Entering into the house, you see the dining room first. Yet again, we are still in decoration mode, but we are getting somewhere.
This piece, I believe it was a gift from my friend, and I believe she said it's from Indonesia. Like, so beautiful. The kitchen, we're still decorating that. Looks the same. We do have a wine holder for our bar now. Building an entertainment center, definitely plan to wall mount the TV and maybe even get a bigger one. But one of my biggest blessings that I'm most grateful for is furniture. Like, I feel so much more comfortable to have guests now. Like, God is good, y'all. God is so good. Furniture is everything. Like, it's everything. Back into this little hallway, and here we go with this loud light in my bathroom. So my bathroom, I decided to go with red decor. I thought I was going to do purple, but I saw these red velvet mats, and I could not pass it up. Like, they were so beautiful. So I just, do a little towel, something to make it look nice, and then got a really beautiful picture to look at. Turn this light back out because it's loud. And then here is my room again. I definitely did some different things that I always wanted to do, but didn't expect that I would do so soon. Oh, well, yeah, that you can't really see that light. But yeah, so I added a canopy over my bed and actually moved it to the other side. So I still have the same decorations. I did add a Be Still and Know photo over here. I added one of my favorite scriptures to my wall, put faith back over there. And then for my birthday, one of my closest friends here gave me this mirror, and she painted scriptures all around the corner so that when I look at it, I would remember who I am by what the Word of God says. And that is amazing. And I was gifted with this fluffy rug, like so beautiful. Prayer wall still getting filled up. Bookshelf still the same. Decorations over there still the same. But this is my apartment update. I told you guys I would do that when I get furniture and start decorating, and here it is. And I'm so blessed and thankful.